you the Keymaster?
Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Desk Talks. As we get in here, my brother and I looked at each other and said, oh, what are we talking about today? Oh, we're talking about that? Oh, yeah, you still want to talk about that? Sure. All right, sounds good. It's the countdown's going.
That's because we had a good storytelling session before we hit the record button. And I got to be honest with you. I don't know if this conversation is going to compare to story time. Because story time today was old, Marine stories and old Army stories, and those are the best. So stick around. Maybe you'll hear that over on Broken Toys after this episode.
I was about to say, you didn't come here for that. You came here for some information. You came here for some laughs. You came here for some giggles. Let me tell you right now, some of the best times that Rob and I have had in our adult life was probably in the military, only because I've never laughed, had so many great, powerful memories and emotions that at times where I was tired, hungry, cold.
Yeah.
The worst spots of my life, I never laughed as hard as I have.
You embrace the suck and you find the joy in it.
All right, Sergeant Major, I'm going to embrace the suck.
And stay off the grass. God help you.
That's right. Stay off my grass.
Stay off my grass. Yep.
Did I tell you, speaking of funny stories, so I was in 29 Palms when I left my Marine Corps, existence.
Where
right?
there is
I
no
left
grass.
the world of the Marine Corps, and there was no grass out there, but we had to rake the sand.
I knew it was coming to that. Like a Zen
So
garden.
you had to stay off the sand, and I remember getting my DD-214 and just moonwalking over the sand.
You petty.
I was petty. I was ready. There was a reason why I left, and that was some of it was my fault. The other part was that was just not the environment for me. Yeah, I'm a little softer than my Marine Captain. If you served with me, all right, here's the honesty. Why did I switch to the Army? Dude, you guys are too tough. Okay? Just too tough for me.
Maybe we unpack the word tough in Broken Toys. Stick around.
Stick around. Go to Broken Toys if you want to hear me unpack that. But, yeah. So, anyway, moving on. Dude, hey, good morning.
Well, good
morning, afternoon, whatever time it is. Dude, I'm so glad to be here with you. We just kind of opened right into it today.
Yeah.
Welcome our guest here. I guess I could be a host. Everybody get up to the same energy that we are. President Trump has officially taken office with his cabinet. He is starting to align those, and we are going to talk about some of those today because we have no political affiliation, but we do like to bring you the news, right? So, as it is happening, on this channel, we talk about higher education and veterans in higher education and business. So, we're going to talk about the Department of Education today.
Exciting. It's going to be exciting. Grab your coffee. You're in for a barn burner.
I tell you what, if you are listening to this, and we're going to try to put some satire here. And today we're actually going to give you some of our opinions because this is going to develop. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't tell the future, but what we can do is we can look back on historical facts. And Rob and I are going to try to bring you the best vantage point from where we sit as veterans who have used our benefits, who have gone back and gotten our higher education through administration and what we can see coming up for us. So with that being said, Robbo, why don't you kick us off here with telling us a little bit about what the Department of Education was originally designed for?
Yeah, Bubba, you're on the wrong channel because that sounded way too professional for Desk Talks. Our moniker is minimally professional. So I'm gonna say it in the Desk Talks way. We're going to talk about Department of Education and let you know how we feel about it and the direction in which we see it's going to go and impact you. I'm kidding. You did a great job. Way to tee that up. So I know a lot of people have heard about it for months. We've alluded to it a little bit, and there's some stirrings that have been kind of bubbling to the surface in the higher education world about President Trump's claims to shut down Department of Education, especially during his campaign time leading up to his presidency.
I think my favorite choice of words, whenever he talked about the Department of Education, he said he was going to dismantle it, which I enjoy that imagery.
Yeah.
I just enjoy the imagery. Not that I enjoy the idea of him doing it. It's just the imagery of him dismantling the Department
This is
of
self-restraint.
Right. My bad.
This is the face of self-restraint right now that I'm not getting enough credit for. But first off, I think it's important to know that he just appointed Miss McMahon to be head of Department of Education. I don't see how you would, in his term, dismantle a department if you name a new department head. That just doesn't seem logical to me, unless he's going to take the WWE approach and turn it into Department of Education into a cage match.
You have to enter the cage to defend your position at the Department of Education.
You want to keep your job? Climb to the top of the cage. Give people the people's elbow.
Get out of the cage and you win.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I think it's what should be focused on inside of the move, right? Inside of what he's saying is returning the educational power back down to the state level and removing some of the federal oversight on curriculum and finances and allowing states to regulate that instead of that being regulated, from DC, for lack of a better term. Again, and you did a great job, Chase, of kind of couching it in that we don't know what's going to happen. We can only speculate. So in my opinion, I personally believe that can only be a good thing, because if you're pushing it down to the state, those state representatives should, being the operative word, should have a better pulse on what their population needs, on what their population wants, in education, both K through 12 and in higher education.
Just for the sake of argument here, because we are having a conversation, but what if federal sets the standard? And what if these states, because not every state is going to have the same standard, what if these states go to a standard that we don't like?
Go to a different state.
There are barriers to entry, okay, for a statement like that, for you and I to make that. But I think this needs to be said. You can't make decisions on the what ifs. Somebody's not going to perform their job. We have to have trust and faith in the American people. And as a combat veteran and person who's lived long enough, I choose to believe that there are more good people out there than bad, and more people that are intentional to do good, right? On both sides of the aisle. So pushing that back down to the states, like Rob said, can only be a good thing if those people that we have in those positions, that we have appointed to those positions in the state level, are actually going to do the work for the people.
Yeah. Well said. And I think it's more moving back to the original intent of why the Department of Education was created, right? And so I encourage, before you formalize an opinion based off of what we say or what you read in the media, do your own research and come up with an opinion. If I'm not mistaken, and if I've done my research correctly, and someone, feel free to correct me if I misstep here in the comments.
Please.
Department of Education was created in 1974 with the intent to manage the federal tax dollars coming from the Treasury down to the states, right? That was the initial intent. Since then, that department, today, now boasts something over 4,000 employees and has oversight of K through 12 education, institutes of higher learning, OJT, non-college degree programs. So its scope has expanded significantly, right? And one thing that we do know about our current president is that he's a firm believer in a smaller government footprint. And I think that is echoed in some of the things that he's done, in his first 72 hours here in office. And so I know there's been some rumblings about, in some of our educational partners and our educational providers, some people are really pulling back on how they're spending and how they're moving in the higher education space, which I think is wise to do.
They should.
Until we know what's happening. But
because nobody has a crystal ball, right?
No one has a crystal ball. But what we do know, for, my veteran brethren out there, what we do know, the VA has ultimate authority and oversight over your veterans' educational benefits, or what we call commonly the GI Bill. Department of Education does not, from what I understand, have oversight over how the GI Bill is used. That's VA. So I wouldn't be too concerned with your educational benefits changing. I do think that by eliminating that federal oversight, if it comes to that, if they do eliminate the federal oversight from Department of Education and push it down to the state level, you'll have more opportunity to seek more common learning types, at various institutions. And I'll give you an example of what I'm saying here. If you want to go do a coding boot camp right now and use your VA educational benefits and you want to go in person, if you're here in where I am in East Texas, my closest option is Dallas. That's an hour and a half drive. That's tough to do. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I own a company, I have a full-time job. So taking that time to drive down to Dallas, that's almost insurmountable for me. Whereas if you push those regulations down to the state level, you allow the state entities to have a stronger pulse on the need in higher education.
Right.
And so they can open and expand that umbrella to veterans, especially for some of us who are a little more rural than our city dwelling counterparts.
So what you're saying is the idea behind this is to open up opportunity, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
is to,
well said.
I've heard it echoed a lot over the last couple of days, but talking about deregulation, right? So there's nothing wrong whenever a company needs to restructure, and it sounds like that's what they're talking about, a retooling, a restructure, not a complete shut down and get away. Because if you listen to this, everybody knows that knowledge is power, and a more educated people we are where we are today because of education, right? So I'm with you, Rob. We are simpatico in that. I don't think they're going to dismantle per se the Department of Education. I think it's going to change. Yes, I think there's going to be some changes. I think you're going to see a lot of, and you're already seeing that. There's a lot of presidential orders talking about furloughing people, hiring freezes and stuff like that, because they're starting a Department of Government Efficiency, and that is going to be tied in there. Do I see that affecting us as veterans being able to take advantage and advance ourselves and take advantage of opportunities? Absolutely not. I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yes. To put it simply, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think you'll feel the impact of that. I think what you're mainly seeing is, I'll edit that. I feel like I had to sneeze.
I hope you miss it and this makes the episode.
I hope so too. And I promise you that if I do sneeze, I'm going to try and do it with my eyes open. Like a creep. You're welcome. I'm here for your entertainment. I think what you're seeing is, and what our current president has echoed throughout his campaign and even in his first term as president, is pushing giving the states more power, right? The states already have power over the education inside of their state to a degree, but allowing them to expand how those federal dollars are used for need. I was never the university provost or anything like that, so I don't know how much every institution relies on federal dollars. So I can understand why there are some institutions out there who are in a bit of a panic mode, especially if you give regulatory oversight over what programs can and cannot be approved for GI Bill use or Title IX use, which would be like your federal financial aid, things like that. I can understand why some are a little nervous about, how that's interpreted and where that goes. But man, like we said, I only see that as a good thing. In my opinion, it's only a good thing.
There's opportunity in everything. There's opportunity, right? So that's one thing in my life that has rang true. So even in the worst situations where some people look at this as like it's a horrible call, I know we've been talking about this for several months inside my house. I have an educator that I'm married to, right? So we talk about it almost daily.
Sure.
Talk about the implications of what it means for her, and one of those things that came up that I would love to talk about, which is AI being introduced into the education space. That's going to change the landscape of how we have education. The way that we deliver.
Okay. The way that teachers teach, the way that education is delivered.
The way it's packaged. I don't know. What's the right word here? I don't know. Somebody drop me a comment. Tell me what the right word is here. All right. But the way that we actually do and do procedurally, like I was reading how listen how hick I sound. I was reading. I read real good. I practice my words every
Let's
day.
talk about higher education. Church it up. Hey, Bubba, church it up a little bit. Come on.
I'll
now.
church up just a little bit. My
There
fault,
you go.
guys. All right. So I was reading the other day, and I was listening to a couple newscasts where they were talking about how AI systems are going to be introduced into the school system,
Yep.
and how education is going to change and how we see that. They're already doing that at Harvard. I use AI just based off what I read in a Harvard study. I'm starting to use AI in our house, where we plug in a set data set for my 8th grader and my 5th grader, and we come up with quizzes. We come up with notes that have that Minecraft jumping stuff with all the different colors and stuff in the background that has proven to increase retention. AI can come up with an individualized training or education plan. An IEP is what it's called in the education space. An individualized education program, right? That will go to each one of the students. So there is a lot of positive space there, but you're going to see a shift. What are teachers going to be doing, right? If we have AI that is already maximizing given individual, education curriculum, what are we going to do?
Well, that will be interesting. And I know we touched on AI a few episodes ago, so I don't want to jump down the rabbit hole too much. But I mean, I know there's a large conglomerate of people out there who are very opposed to AI. Honestly, I kind of
for good reason.
at you. No, it's not. I laugh at you. Y'all are being silly because you have a cell phone.
Don't laugh at them. From their perspective, they just can't see it. Don't laugh at them.
Some people need to be laughed at, myself included. So I'm not singling anybody out. We use AI every day. You use it every day, man. I have an iPhone, and so I don't want to say it, otherwise she'll pop up and start talking to me. But the AI integration inside of phones, we have an Amazon product in almost every single room of our home that I can talk to and can do. And they're already using AI in schools now to help interdict for threats into the school system. So I really only see how AI can do good for us as long as we're using it the right way, right? You use it as a tool. And how it was meant to be, how it was created and meant to be used. And I think that's echoed in the fact that President Trump signed it, I believe, right? Signed the executive order to introduce like a $500 billion bill or funding pathway for AI in education.
And it's private investment. That's $500 billion in private investment is what he introduced. I don't know. But, and I can't, we need to go back and confirm if that was through a...
Hold on. Pause. Is this a Pfizer situation?
You mean is the snake eating its own tail? Is that what you mean?
All hail Fauci. I'm sorry if I struck a nerve. I'm curious. Hey, you brought up a really good point. It's something that's interesting.
We're gonna get flamed in the comments.
Probably. Y'all go right on here. I don't care. But introducing AI into the classroom, I've never been an educator, in the K through 12.
No.
But our mother was. Your wife is, and I've heard them talk, and I think about it from a lesson plan standpoint. What an amazing tool you have at your disposal to be able to use that AI to generate, what did you call it? Individualized educational plans, IEPs?
IEPs.
We would call them ETPs in higher education, educational training plan. But you make those individualized per the student. I'm just thinking selfishly of my youngest son who struggles in reading. Personally, his father think it's a want. He doesn't want to read, but for him,
he reads real good when it's something he wants to read.
Yeah, he reads real good. He's been practicing his words every day. We try and educate the heck out of my son. But what an amazing tool! One, to save yourself time as an educator, and whenever you're saving yourself time, I can only assume that you allow yourself to integrate further with your class by saving yourself time and using that AI to help generate an effective training plan for students who are struggling or who just need a little extra attention, much like my son. He just needs a little extra attention. Whenever that attention is given, he excels. And so I can see AI being very, very good for him. And they kind of use that already. They have games like a math game. I don't recall the name of it. They play on their Chromebook.
Yeah, we play Prodigy. Math
Thank you.
Prodigy.
Yes.
You know,
And there's another one.
Right?
There's another
And
one.
that's a
Isn't there
game
like a
that they
reading
design-
game?
I'm sorry?
There's another one that's a reading game too. You have Prodigy and there's something else. Do you guys use that?
Yeah. Fastbridge? No,
That's not what we use, but whatever.
That's an assessment tool. Yeah, I try to think. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it shifts. It shifts
shifts.
what they're showing the children based off of how well they do. I mean, that's AI. So we're using it already. Don't be afraid of it.
You know, look at it like this. Your information gets into you individually, right? So the way that you consume knowledge is very individually based. If we have a tool that we can plug in and its sole purpose behind all of its power called AI, and we say, hey, look, I want you to look at, Rob Hurst or Chase Hurst, and I want you to come up with a system with their knowns to be able to maximize their engagement and their retention into the subject matter. You mean to tell me that, for me, the adult with ADHD, if you don't put a bouncing ball at the bottom of a screen, and seriously, if you just put a bouncing ball that's bouncing on stuff, much like that Minecraft stuff, if it bounces while somebody's reading to me, well, the AI says that's the best way that I'm an audio visual learner. So if you put the two together, now you're maximizing. I'm not going to sit in the back of a lecture hall as an adult, who went back to college. I struggled sitting in the back of a giant lecture hall while one person talked for 90 minutes. I would record all those notes and I would have to listen to it. I used to ride my motorcycle 50 minutes one way and I would put on those notes all the way home.
Preparation for our podcast today, I did a little research and I want to share something with everyone that has made it this far in the podcast. Let me see if I can find it. There's an AI open source called Courseology. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. It was interesting. I was victimized by...
You can't see it, but I'm not going to show the internet, but if you can look on my phone, I actually have that app downloaded on my phone.
No one wants to see your phone. Okay? Take it easy.
Nobody wants to see it.
No one wants to see that. But I was victimized by an ad in the middle of my doom scrolling. Victimized. Yes. I'm an American. I was victimized. So this Courseology, you can take a textbook and import it into this AI software. And it will produce the textbook as a podcast where it's two people simply talking about it. And not only that, this is where it really got me. You can click a button. You
pay the premium and you get Snoop Dogg to read it?
Stop it. Is that real?
That's real.
So that's a business expense. But it was really cool.
Where was that whenever I was studying for the NCO board, bro?
Where was that whenever
I would have aced it. The Audie Murphy board would have had it done.
Dude.
Done.
Imagine in high school, all we had for all of you out there, if there's younger listeners who are in high school, which you shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
Yeah, don't listen to this channel. It's not for you.
But if you are, let me give you a little snippet. All we had were Cliff Notes. Okay?
Dude, but if you got caught with Cliff Notes, bro, you
got in trouble.
You got in trouble.
But
big trouble.
Now you have Courseology, where you can take that, and it's incredible to me. You can turn it into a podcast where two people are talking about it, and in the video, it was like a biology textbook.
Yeah.
He turned it into a podcast. He was listening to it, and then he pushed a button that said raise hand. And the AI, he must have put in his name prior to it, but said something like, yes, Daniel, you have a question. And he said, can y'all go over something like, what's the definition of microbiomes? And the AI spit back out and said, Daniel, what a great question. Microbiomes are, and it just went through.
Gross. I haven't seen that. That's cool.
Oh, it was wild. It was wild. But to your point, what an amazing learning aid that would be. In my opinion, that is you're not cheating the system.
No.
You're allowing different learning styles to succeed.
You've changed the system.
Yeah.
You've changed the system. It's gone. It no longer exists. The old system is gone. Understand that I'm married to a teacher and to an educator, not a teacher. She's an educator. She's also a coach. I mean, this is what she does, right? So for her, the thought of AI is very scary. because it replaces her. I don't think you're ever going to replace educators. I think you're going to evolve into something different,
No,
right?
I mean, you're
Where we used to be in classrooms, all together, didn't matter what age you were, everybody was in the classroom, right?
yep.
And then, a little bit further down the road, you separated the bigs and the littles, and then a little bit further down the road, we started separating, by age, right? So all the 6-year-olds come with me, all the 7-year-olds, then we started assigning it, right? Like this is all a progression. Right. So if you're listening to this and you hear me and we're talking about AI in the education space and what the Department of Education is doing, I mean, we're adapting, we're evolving,
Yes.
and that is good. So do not be scared, my friends. Embrace, find your opportunity inside this space. And this is what I tell my wife all the time. Find your opportunity. My wife is, ever since I met her, has always wanted to go back and get her doctorate. That is a personal goal of hers. And I, being her best friend and her husband, and gets to know exactly what buttons to push, I keep on saying things like, you should just write your doctorate on AI in the education space. To which she goes, stop it. I told her, I said, I would read that. I would be part of that research team. Like, I would love to be part of that research team.
I would too. That would be interesting. But I think you have an opportunity here, to your point, finding your space inside of this change. If you're, and Mom, I know you're going to listen to this. Just call me. Don't call me out in the comments. Just call me. Let's have the conversation. But what I'm about to say, our mom got out of education for a substantial amount of time and then went back in as an educator, if I'm not mistaken, at the elementary level. And I remember her walking away from it about 6 months later saying, I just can't keep up. I can't keep up with the changes. And I think if you're an educator now, you're seeing the change being implemented right now on the front end. Get out ahead of it. Much like we've seen it with a lot of traditional factory workers. They implemented robots and AI to streamline processes. And in my opinion, the people that have maintained success in that industry have moved away from being on the factory line to learning how to work the machine, how to manipulate the machine to work for them. And I think you have an opportunity to do that now inside of the education space. Why not get out in front of it now?
Why not start teaching our kids? I know my kids are just as bad using ChatGPT to do their daggum homework. And I've had it out with my son over that stuff. He's done it. My thing is, dude, you didn't even do a good job. Like, but not understanding that this AI is new for him. Like my son still doesn't really know how to use Google, right? I mean, remember whenever you and I were coming up, well, people who are listening, you should remember what it was like whenever we had dial-up internet. Or if you're a little bit younger than that, maybe you can, before we had high speed, not broadband, right? Like whenever you were, things creaked, right? So
I remember sitting out by the mailbox waiting on the postman to drop off that little disc in the mail for my free internet, and how exciting that was.
NetSuite.
My God.
AOL Online?
Yes.
You changed it up? Okay. All right.
Yeah, which now I'm having a little self-realization moment. Maybe that's why I get so excited as an adult now, and I'm like, oh, the mail comes at 1 o'clock. Like, I got to go check the mail. Okay, I'm sorry. I derailed you. Keep going.
You got mail. Well, I remember, you were talking about mail stuff. I used to get excited about the mail because I had a Netflix subscription for it. It was cool. Because I was in the military, and we didn't have a Blockbuster, right? So the best way I found was to get them mailed straight to my barracks room, straight to the mail room downstairs.
See, you're smart. I had to explain that to my children. Whenever I was y'all's age, we didn't have streaming services.
Nope.
Yeah, because
I couldn't afford cable. Okay.
Whenever the boys were watching like Sunday Night Football or something, and a commercial came on, and my son said, why do they run so many ads during football? And I went, ads?
Stop it. Look, this is the way, my kids complain because the other day I got tired of paying the fees for everything, for all the streaming services. So I knocked all of ours down to the state. Give me the ads back. Okay. I'm tired of paying this exorbitant price for no ads. All right.
So I went to $3 a month.
Hey, $3 is $3. Anybody out there who feels me, give me a hand.
Hey.
Give me a hands up in the comments, man.
Listen to me. That's 9 packs of ramen. Don't play
Hey,
games.
that's what I'm saying, dude. Hey, that's food. All right. So, so I canceled all that. My kids made the exact same thing, and I looked at them. I just turned it. I said, "Hey, man, that's a pee break. That's a potty break. That's a snack break, bro. Go get a glass of water."
Go stretch your legs.
You remember waiting for a commercial whenever you were a kid, just so you could go to the bathroom, and then you yelled back,
Sprinting.
"It's coming on!"
Yeah,
and
yes,
you would
I
be
do.
sprinting through
Yes,
the
I do.
house.
Yes, I do. I remember waking up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning just to watch my TV show because there was no DVR, baby. If you missed it, you missed it.
I remember getting so upset. Mom, if you are listening, I remember getting so upset with Mom on weekdays, on weekends, whenever we had to get up and go to the store, right? Mom, she didn't have stuff to make breakfast, but I remember getting so upset because we get back and my show came on at 7 a.m. And if we weren't there, if we're there 7:05, I missed the whole beginning. I missed the whole plot. Might as well I'm gonna have to wait till next.
There's no point.
I'm not gonna watch the show anymore because I missed one episode. I don't know what's going on.
You ruined it. My whole day's ruined. You missed that episode of Seventh Heaven, didn't you, Bubba?
Or I did. Or how many times did you really get into a show, right? But if you're like me, how many people out there can attest with this? You really got into a show and then you came on deployment orders. And you never watched that show again, right? Because it was on TV. No, I wasn't going to go out and buy $70, $80 worth of DVD sets.
Or hear me out.
Or
you just walk through that.
Deployed.
You walk through the walkthrough gate.
Yeah.
And you pay $20 for the entire 10 seasons that are English dubbed.
That might be how I got the complete season of MASH.
Yeah.
And brought that in its own little box. It's a very unique box.
I'm sure.
It's very much hand put together.
I'm sure.
Subtitled in English. Technology advances, going back to the original there, technology advances and it's in the education space and it's quickly and rapidly coming upon us. So if you are a veteran looking to get into some of those spaces, I think you are wise, looking for the opportunities, seeing what's forward. 5 to 7 years is what the futurists are telling us is where you're going to see the biggest impact in education is in 5 to 7 years with AI. So don't be afraid of AI, embrace it.
Yeah, and if you're a veteran out there and maybe you're about to transition, if you're on active duty, you're transitioning out, you want to start using that GI Bill, or if you've moved down to a dependent, and they're going to use GI Bill here in the next couple of years. If you have a question about any of the changes, drop it in the comments. If you're okay with us commenting on it publicly, I think that we all have questions about it, but some people are just scared to ask the question. There are no stupid questions. I promise we'll only make fun of you behind your back. So drop it in the comments below.
Just stupid people.
Yeah, amen. Just drop it in the comments below. Happy to answer it. If you don't want it in the comments, send us a note. Chase and I keep a very good pulse on the changes, especially related to the GI Bill, because we used ours, and we want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information on yours as well.
Well, it goes back to our original mission, which is to remove financial barriers to higher education, because with education comes opportunity. So we want to remove barriers for your opportunity, much like we had barriers moved for us. So if you have stuck with us this far, you're awesome. All right. Make sure that you hit that like, subscribe, and share button. All right. So we can keep on coming back and doing this for you and not charging anybody anything for the services that we provide here. If you have something to say about what we talked about today, whether you are a subject matter expert on the Department of Education, if you are a subject matter expert on AI, if you're a subject matter expert on anything, believe me, people are interested. They want to hear what you have to say. Shoot us an email at info@dynamiceducationsolutions.org or click the link below. It will take you over to where you can send us an email. We would love to have you on the show. Until next time, make sure that you are staying minimally professional, my friends, and enjoying life. And we'll catch you next week on the next one. Skoodoodles.